The piano was out of tune, the kind of tune that sounded like it had survived more gunfights than songs. Dust hung in the air of the Silver Spur Saloon, floating lazily in the shafts of morning light that crept through the dirty windows. Most folks didn't come here at this hour unless they were broken, or running from something. She noticed him the moment he stepped inside. Not because he was loud. He wasn't. Not because he looked rich. He didn't. But because he carried himself like a man who'd seen the world burn and learned how to stand in the ashes without flinching. His boots were worn, his coat faded, and his hat had seen better days. Yet there was something about his eyes. Calm. Measuring. Like he owned more than he showed. When he sat down at the counter and quietly asked for coffee and eggs, the saloon girl made a decision that would change both their lives forever. She slid a few coins across the bar to the barkeep and said, "Put his breakfast on me." She had no idea that the cowboy she'd just helped owned half the territory. And in less than a day, the whole frontier would be whispering her name. Her name was Clara May Dawson, though almost nobody used it anymore. Around the Silver Spur, she was just red, on account of her auburn hair that caught the lamplight like fire. She'd come west 3 years earlier with a man who promised her a home, a future, and respect. He'd vanished in Cheyenne with her savings and her faith in men. The saloon had taken her in the way the desert takes in the lost, without mercy, but with room enough to survive. She sang sometimes, poured drinks always, smiled when she had to, and learned quickly which men were safe and which ones weren't. The cowboy at the counter didn't look like trouble. He didn't leer. He didn't snap his fingers. He simply sat there, hands folded, waiting patiently for food he might not even be able to pay for. Clara recognized that look. Hunger mixed with pride. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly when the plate arrived. His voice was low, steady, like gravel under calm water. She shrugged. Everyone deserves a hot meal now and then. He studied her for a moment, as if committing her face to memory. "I'll pay you back." She laughed softly. "Don't worry about it, cowboy. Just pay it forward." He nodded once. "I will." If Clara had known who he was, she might have thought twice. Or maybe she wouldn't have changed a thing. The man's name was Eli Mercer. In most of the territory, that name carried weight like a loaded revolver. He was the silent partner in 3 rail lines, the largest cattle owner west of the Platte River, and the legal holder of deeds that stretched farther than some men rode in a lifetime. But Eli Mercer didn't dress like a baron, didn't ride with an entourage, and didn't announce himself. He'd learned long ago that power showed itself better when it stayed quiet. Eli was in town because someone was stealing from him. Not cattle, not money, something worse. Land deeds were being altered, records burned, families forced off property they'd lived on for generations. Someone was using his name to do it, and that didn't sit right with him. After breakfast, Eli thanked Clara again, tipped his hat, and left without another word. She watched him go, wondering briefly if she'd ever see him again. Then the doors swung open and the saloon filled with the usual midday crowd, and the thought slipped away like smoke. By sundown, the trouble started. 3 men rode into town hard and fast, dust trailing behind them like a warning. Everyone knew the leader, Hank Bellows. He wore his cruelty the way other men wore cologne. Bellows had been buying up land cheap, threatening folks who wouldn't sell, and somehow always had the law on his side. He pushed through the saloon doors and scanned the room. His eyes landed on Clara, and a smile crept across his face that made her stomach tighten. "Red," he drawled. "Heard you've been playing benefactor today." She stiffened. "I don't know what you're talking about." Bellows stepped closer, invading her space. "Cowboy this morning. Quiet type. Sat right there. That him." She hesitated, and that was enough. Bellows laughed. "You've got a soft heart, girl. That'll get you hurt out here." He leaned in closer. "That man you fed? He's been asking questions he shouldn't." The saloon went quiet. Even the piano stopped. Clara felt fear rise in her chest, but she forced herself to meet Bellows' gaze. "If you've got business with him, take it up with him." "Oh, I plan to," Bellows said. "But since you helped him, seems only fair you share the consequences." That was when the doors opened again. Eli Mercer walked back in. Same worn coat, same calm eyes. But now, the room felt different. Like a storm had found its center. Bellows turned slowly. "You've got nerve showing your face again, stranger." Eli's voice was even. "You've got nerve using my name to steal land." The room froze. Bellows' smile faltered. "Your name?" Eli reached into his coat, not for a gun, but for folded papers. He laid them on the bar, one by one. Deeds, seals, signatures. I am Eli Mercer, he said, and you've been very busy on my property. A murmur rippled through the saloon. Someone dropped a glass. Bellows' hand twitched toward his gun, but Eli didn't move. He didn't have to. Outside, the sound of boots hit the boardwalk. Then more. And more. Men stepped into view through the windows. Ranch hands. Lawmen from 3 counties. All wearing the same mark. Bellows swallowed. You see, Eli continued, I don't like bullies. And I don't like thieves. But I especially don't like men who hurt people just to feel big. His eyes flicked briefly to Clara. This town deserves better. Bellows tried to run. He didn't make it 3 steps. By nightfall, the Silver Spur buzzed with stories. Some said Eli Mercer had planned it all from the start. Others swore he'd just been passing through. But everyone agreed on one thing. The saloon girl who'd paid for his breakfast had changed the course of the town. Clara sat alone after closing, hands shaking as the adrenaline faded. She hadn't asked for any of this. She'd just followed her heart. The door creaked open softly. Eli stepped inside, hat in hand. I wanted to thank you, he said. She gave a tired smile. Seems like you already did enough. He shook his head. You reminded me why I built all this in the first place. He hesitated, then added, I'd like to offer you a job. She laughed bitterly. I already have one. Not here, he said gently. Somewhere safer. Somewhere you're respected. She studied him. No pity in his eyes. No expectation. Just an open door. And if I say no, then I'll still be grateful you fed a hungry man. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Clara exhaled. I don't want charity. Eli smiled. Good. I'm offering partnership. Months later, the Silver Spur was gone, replaced by a boarding house and school. Clara ran both. Eli visited often, though he never stayed long. They walked the land together, talked about the future, argued sometimes, laughed more than either expected. People would ask Clara how she'd gone from saloon girl to one of the most respected women in the territory. She always answered the same way. I bought a cowboy breakfast once, she'd say, and learned that kindness travels farther than gold.